Hey, this is Malachi, Church versus State. I want to tell everybody, and I want you to know this to be factual, and don't ever forget it. God is in complete control. And if you are one of his children, you are going to be just fine. You need to get in his word. You need to have communications with him, because even though the world is chaotic and you think, oh, everybody's praying all at once, which I'm sure they are, he can still handle it. 7 billion people pray at one time. He can handle it. Talk to him. This is the time to really start to talk to him about what's going on. This is also the time for you to not worry about really what's going on, and the time you need to be in his word. Even more so than ever, because there's going to be even more false prophets that come forth. It's going to be even more false teachers that come forth. When things get bad, the scum rise to the top, and there are a lot of false preachers and teachers and doctrines and all these different things that will just pounce on this opportunity to try to rule over you, and to dictate over you, control you, try to get you to give them something that you possess or you have, whether it's your spirit, your money, your time. And you need to be careful. And do not get sucked into this. Just get into his word. Start reading it. Don't be afraid of what you're seeing out there. And don't even concern yourself, in my opinion, whether a coronavirus is real, made up, or whatever. The issue is it's objection. The objection, they're getting what they wanted. Whoever it is, the people and all the different things that create all this stuff, the monetary systems, the aspect of forcing people into a chaotic mindset. We need really, right now, we really need good leadership. I wish Trump would, I don't know. It's really tough. And it's going to be really tough. And maybe we'll break out of this in a week. I don't know. But when you see Italy quarantines its entire country, that tells me something about this is even bigger than the coronavirus flu itself. It's almost like, well, I'm gonna go to this, because I wrote about this a long time ago. And I see it just coming to pass. I talked about the kings, the 7 kings in Revelation. And you can read it, or you don't have to. I don't care to this point, whether people do or not. You can, you can't. You can believe what I have to say, or you don't. That kind of stuff. I know that it's probably not the greatest written piece of literature ever created. I am not a writer. I'm a creator. I'm a musician. I write in lyrical form, and I write music. I'm not a great writer that writes out things. But I want to tell you, I want you to still look at this aspect of the timeline. And also the fact that I just spoke about the parable of the fig tree. And you need to think about that as well. And maybe I'll add that in here too. But I also said around 2021, the Queen will step down and begin, and that begins, because I feel the 80 years is 2027. There's a full moon it's not a full moon, it's an eclipse, a total eclipse over Egypt on 2027. So, if the Queen steps down, or says she's going to hand over her throne, I wrote this in 2015, people. I could see what was happening. God was showing me a lot of things around this time. This is when I also prophesied it over the death of Billy Graham and the timeline on which it actually happened. And this is the time that I wrote this. This also around the same time I wrote about what was later called the TPP and how they were going to introduce that. And In order to introduce that, a financial collapse had to come, and which I even talk about on here, because a financial collapse will come this year. It is now, obviously. But I wrote it in here, and you can scroll down and you can look at it where I said financial meltdown, and then a false rapture, fake alien invasion, whatever you want to call it. But TPP, if I go over here, I want you to see where I talked about how after they create this chaotic financial meltdown, they will make businesses and force businesses to no longer pay employees directly. But the next thing is what they're going to start doing. I almost guarantee you. I'm giving you a prophecy. I knew exactly what's going to happen. And this all goes back to Obama administration. Even this virus, we're finding out, it was part of the Obama administration that sold all this stuff over to them. There's a lot of evil going on. That's why I called them the beast. But I'm telling you, all small businesses will no longer be able to pay you directly. They will have a deal. Their governments will create a deal where all the money that's paid to you as a worker will have to go to the government first, and the government will issue, like what I got for this stupid company that wants me to work for them, a global cash card. Figure that one out, right? That you're going to get one of those cards, but it's from the state. And so every week that you work, at the end of the week, they're going to send your hour slip off to the state, and then the state's going to cut you a check, which will probably be like $15, because they'll deduct your food stamps, your Obamacare, all this forced taxes, everything. You'll be left with chump change, and you'll just be a slave. But I'm going to tell you this: you need to have no fear. I'm also going to show you this too, because I told you God's going to mark his 144,000. I don't know. Like I said, something's going to happen March 22nd, either 3 days prior or 3 days after, within that window of time. Okay, remember this. This is exactly what I said in regards to the death of Billy Graham. This window of time, within a week. Right? 3 days before, 3 days after. That's 7 days, plus the day. It's 7 days within that week frame of the 22nd. Listen to my words. I believe God might mark his 144,000, because that would be the timeline. And I know some people don't like how and what I've chosen to use as pictures on some of this stuff, but I don't care. I talked about the parable of the fig tree. I talked about it in my last thing. I told you about the fig tree that fell in Hollywood, and that it fell at 144 years of its age. We all know that Hollywood and the Jews. We also know about Israel. We also know about Israel now wanting to sacrifice a lamb here in, not next month, but May, I believe. We know about, or maybe it's in April too, because April is Easter, so we have Passover around that time. So watch, keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open. There's never been a time that I remember, at least since I've been alive, 52 years, guys must be outside, that I've ever seen a country locked down over something fake like this coronavirus. Let's see. What is the confirmed cases in Italy? Let's see what it says here. 113,000, so something spiked up, because it wasn't that much earlier. So Italy has almost 9,200 people who have died. The U.S. has 607. That's changed. 17, 18 in Washington, 19. 19 in Washington. So, and Washington's probably going to do the same thing. And I can tell you that Washington could be shut down too, because we only have 405 and I-90. We don't have a lot of ways to get over the mountains, and then we're surrounded by either water, Canada, or mountains. We have the Columbia that goes through, and all those areas can be heavily guarded and watched and just keep people in. So it would go to my vision I had when I was a kid. So I don't know why I clicked on that. Anyways, you got to keep your eyes open, but at the same time, people, just understand this. Read your word. Read your word. Read the whole thing. Don't worry about people. Don't worry about all this crap that you're hearing. Don't worry about nothing. Just get into his word. That's your refuge. That's your refuge. That's your strength. All this other stuff is distractions. Focus on the word. Focus on God. Focus on building a relationship with him. That's what you need to do. I'm telling you, right now is a pivotal moment. And you need to make this decision wisely. So, just letting you know. It's I should just sign out because I really don't have much to say. I didn't have a really good day today. So I tried to start a job, which I'm not really good at doing jobs. Then I have another job that's been delayed because of this crap. And that was him. Hi, any updates? Chance to Stereo? No, I don't have any updates. So it just has created such a mess of things. And I don't know. It's going to have some deep effects unless there's some way to get out of it. But I don't know how do you get out of this stuff? We as middle of the road people, we as nobodies, we're not big freaking rich CEOs or big banksters or this. We're the ones that get screwed. We're the ones that are told that now we have to serve a greater debt to where. And then this goes to also something I wrote about even before Trump got elected. I also wrote about the Russian servers going down, and really that was part of the whole Russiagate. But I talked about in August 2015. I did quite a bit of things in 2015. So, yeah, I wrote a lot in that year. And one was, would Trump be the martyr of the financial collapse? Just saying. Can't remember what I said, but that's the headline I chose. I thought maybe they would make him a martyr for it prior to him winning the election. But I don't know. Like I said, get in your word, people. Don't worry about things. There's certain things that you won't be able to control or handle or deal with anyways, so it's best not to even bother with it. Just get closer to God, pray, and repent and be baptized. That's it. If you haven't been baptized, you got to do so. If you live in Washington, come see me. We'll get it done. If you want to put on events somewhere, let's do it. I'm like, I'm a guy in the desert, man, screaming like Malachi prior to. I am Malachi. There you go. But if you read Malachi, he was telling people about John the Baptist. And that's all I've been trying to tell people is to repent and be baptized because it's so important. Christ talked about it so many times. But people just, I don't know. They don't like that. And I was watching a video by Candace, and she's going on about the 501c3. Well, let me tell you about the 501c3. Just that when I tell people to repent and be baptized, and then you're free from this bondage of the aspect of Admiralty law. Okay, well, when you're a business and you're a religious organization, the government acknowledges that you are under that covering. This is why you don't have to pay tax. And I understand that people have gotten 501c3 and they begin to misunderstand it, or they don't understand it, or they see how things have changed, or they heard that one church was indoctrinated by different people or what have you, and all this stuff. People always say, that the Catholics should pay the tax. Look, they are, even the system understands that when you are a person of faith, meaning you are a child of God, they have created that organization to say that it is a work of God. The system understands and knows that they cannot tax that, because that is under the covering of God. Now, whether you agree with that or not, that's irrelevant. The same thing applies to you. If you're baptized and born again, now you're under the covering of God again. So the same applies. So here's you got to rightly divide the word, and you also have to understand a little bit of legalities, okay? So read Malachi. It foretells the coming of John the Baptist. It predicts it. And why John the Baptist had to come, and what it was all about. And it's a really quick read. It's 1, 2, 3 chapters long. That's it. Oh, 4 chapters. Excuse me, sorry. The 4th chapter will take you all but maybe a minute to read. So, anyways. It's Malachi Church versus State. Signing out. Hug the kids, call your parents, go see your neighbor, repent and be baptized. Like I said, give it all to God. He's in control. Don't worry about it. Bye.